Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. This is Matt from Atlas Staking, and this morning we're going to chat with Akash Alpha, who's having some technical difficulties. And so while he is trying to figure that stuff out, I am going to tell you about a couple of airdrops, and we'll kind of go from there. So, as of right now, you can see my screen. The Dimension Season 2 airdrop checker is live. So if you're currently staking the DIM tokens, you can go to portal.dimension.xyz and then click over to Season 2. And also, let's see what else we got. The Toki airdrop is now available for Celestine Sloths NFT holders, or I should say you can earn points. So you can earn between 1 and 3,000 Toki points based on your Discord role. And this all comes from the Cosmos Airdrops dude on X. And so certainly follow him at Cosmos_airdrops. And then he'll drop a Discord link in there where you can join and get your role. And the Toki points are awarded for the token generation event, which is going to be in the fourth quarter of this year. And then finally for airdrops, we have got Saga Vault 12, and it's been distributed. So if you are a Saga staker, you should see extra Saga tokens for you to claim. And if I remember, the claim site is a little bit tricky. I forget what it is off the top of my head, so I apologize for that. Let's see if it's down here in this post anywhere. No, it doesn't look like it. It's not saga.xyz. It might be airdrop.saga.xyz or airdrops.saga.xyz. And then also, if you aren't familiar with the Spice Agents, I had a great conversation with them last week. I'm going to show you the first NFT collection denominated in Akash AKT tokens. You can check it out at spiceagents.ai. And they're really cool. And the team that developed the Spice Agents are really good guys. And you can get a hold of your Spice Agent on Stargaze, which I'll show you right now. So here is the Stargaze marketplace. And you can see the floor price right now is like 17 Akash. And then they go all the way up to, let's see what we got. 25 Akash, so they get up there. And there are rarity points. So the more you pay, the more likely it is that you'll be entitled to some future perks down the road. And let me see what we got going. Give me 1 second. I'm going to mute you. I think we might be getting ready with Akash Alpha.
Hi, how's it going? Let me see if I can get that.
All right, so we are here with Akash Alpha. Appreciate you joining us. The technical difficulties.
Hi, sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
I was getting off of a previous meeting. It just took a little bit longer, so I apologize for standing you up here.
No, it's all good.
Especially with the mic check and whatnot. So we're live already.
Yeah, we are. We went live a couple minutes
okay.
ago, and I just told everyone about Spice Agents on Akash and show their website and talked about a couple of airdrops that people can go claim right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If you give me a moment, I'll set up my camera.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
But otherwise,
this is what happens when you go live. You know what I mean?
I thought you would had the ability to push.
More technical difficulties. Let's see if he can come back. Well, this is what happens when you go live. Sometimes there are problems. So you know what we'll do right now is we are so lucky Well, we worked hard. We are now in the Cosmos Hub active set, and you can stake your Atom tokens with us and earn rewards, which is just wonderful. And we're offering a promotion for our Atom stakers, our early supporters. We are giving a bonus of 5%, which is a rebate of the mandatory validator commission of 5% for the first year for everybody who stakes 10 or more Atom with us. And until we accrue 75,000 Atom, if you stake 1,000 or more, you can win that rebate until 2028. And if you stake 5,000 or more Atom, you can win that rebate until 2030. And so it looks like we're back with Akash Alpha. There you are, my
Hi.
man. How are you?
Let's see. Sorry, just trying to get the. I can't hear you right now, so I'm trying to get the settings worked out. Give me one moment. Output is.
Can you hear me now? I'm speaking right now.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Nope. Still can't hear you. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sounds good.
That's interesting. Literally working a second ago.
Yeah, I don't
Here,
know.
let me
So you
try plugging this in.
okay? And then for those who are just hanging in there, you can check
Hello.
out
Can you hear
the
me?
chains that we validate and everything at
Output.
atlas-staking.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Atlas Staking. And same with Akash Alpha. You can follow him on X at Akash Alpha _. And he's all things Akash. And so hopefully we'll get these technical difficulties worked out in just a second. Yeah, we love the Cosmos ecosystem.
All right, so it
And
looks like I can. You can hear me, and
yeah,
but I
you
can't
can't
seem
hear me.
to get my speakers back up to hear you. So that is very interesting.
You can't hear me right now at
Try.
all.
Give me one more minute, and then
Okay.
we'll
right.
proceed with Plan B.
And we hope to spin up an Akash validator here before too long. It's on the list. And yeah, we're expanding. We just spun up a Symphony validator, an Intento validator, a second Polygon validator. And so things are cooking at Atlas Staking. Boy, he logged off again. This is a bummer. So here he is. He's coming one more time.
Yes.
All right, we got you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and
All
clear. This is
right. That is
wonderful. We did
awesome. Oh my
it.
goodness. I'm so sorry
Well,
about that, guys.
that's okay, man. It happens. You know
Oh
what?
Lord.
Let's jump in since
Yeah, some
you know
people
we're
have been waiting. I'm
a
so
little bit
sorry.
behind. Yeah, tell us about your background. Like, where'd you grow up? What are your interests outside of crypto? What music do you like? What jobs have you had? How'd you get into crypto? All that sort of good stuff.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, yeah. So I guess give me a second. Let me see. Where should I start? Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Calum, and outside of crypto, I am pretty much a serial entrepreneur for the last decade of my life. Been opening and managing various cafes and restaurants, serving my communities. I have a background in technology and risk compliance back in corporate, before that. And
Right.
that's probably why my content is the way it is. So I first got into crypto because of a friend of mine who works in crypto. He introduced me to this idea of digital assets, gave this whole speech to a whole lot of friends, but I was literally the only one that, that really took it in. So since then, I decided that this was the space that I want to pursue and, in the next stage of my life, because I really believe in the message and the purpose that we're all working towards here in this industry. And it's the fact that you can take power away from those centralized factions that kind of hoard everything and then democratize it so that, we, the people, are the ones in charge, to be able to do that is a very compelling reason for me to dedicate myself to this industry, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I was a finance guy, managing retirement funds for people, and I know the centralized powers that be very, very well. And what was interesting, we were only able to, recommend certain products to our clients, the ones that our firm had access to. And then if we didn't have access to something that we saw in someone's portfolio from a different firm, well, of course, that was crap. You didn't want that, right? And so,
Yeah.
so yeah, so the decentralized thing I love for sure. So tell us about your cafes. Are you running one right now?
Yeah, actually, so I'm just gonna adjust the brightness a little bit.
All
Yeah, I
good.
am. They're on the side, kind of like they've been in business for like years already, so I don't really manage it too much from day to day. I tend to try to be chronically online instead, and more involved in like the crypto activities, because that's really where my future interest lies. But I still I still love bubble tea. I run a bunch of boba cafes. And so it's always, if you want to talk shop with green tea and the like, I'm your guy.
Yeah, so both of my kids have been into boba for some time, and then my older daughter, who's 16, is now all about matcha, and so it's matcha everything.
Yeah, definitely big on that too.
Yeah, so where do you live? Assuming you give away that information.
Yeah. I'm not really secretive about that. I think the content I do is pretty informative. It's not polarizing in any way. But yeah, I'm out here in eastern U.S., and so just hanging out somewhere in Massachusetts, and hanging out here and enjoying my time. Where
Nice.
are
Is
you?
that where you grew up?
Yeah, New York City actually, born and raised. So kind of just moved out after it's time for the kiddos.
Now living in Massachusetts. I think one of the devs from Spice Agents is also in Massachusetts, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah, it would be interesting. I got to find out.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out how far away you guys are from each other.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
So,
I mean,
so
active events.
yeah. So, what drew you to the Cosmos ecosystem in particular once you got into crypto?
Cosmos is an interesting one for me. Akash Network got me into Cosmos. So,
Not the other way
Akash,
around.
yeah, not the other way around. So, Akash was the first token outside of the BTC ETH newbie welcome pack for me. So once I got the wallet, the Kepler wallet, saw there were like chains on there, like an app store. A vision that I still believe in today. So I was hooked on the idea that you can use separate chains and whatnot. And ETH at the time was like super congested, and the fees were like very high. So I thought that Cosmos was the future, right? So unfortunately, my bags, they bleed like the rest of yours at the moment. But I'm still
Yes.
rooting for Magmar over here.
As am I. As am I. Yeah. I went all in on Cosmos. I think I was introduced to the ecosystem with the Osmosis airdrop, and I was
Hmm.
using Exodus wallet at the time, and you weren't able to claim the airdrop using Exodus. You had to jump over to use Kepler Cosmos Station, and that. So I actually missed the airdrop, but that's what introduced me to the ecosystem, and I love Kepler. It's an amazing wallet. But so how would you describe Akash Network to a newbie and the problems that it solves?
Akash Network to a newbie and the problem is solved. So, yeah, Akash Network is a little bit hard to understand. That's a very, very charged question. It means a lot of things to a lot of people, right?
Right. So maybe
And
compare it to like AWS or Google Cloud, I guess.
um, yeah, I mean, you could do that, but then I think that that's a poor comparison, because they are going to be like, a lot of people like to shortcut it, right?
Okay.
But we can do better than that here, right?
Yes.
Um,
Hey, educate me.
so yeah, the shorthand is that it is trying to do what AWS is doing, which is just a cloud, right? And the difference, it would be that one's centralized and one's decentralized, but that kind of doesn't reflect why people should care, right? Because then you're like, oh, it's a joke. People don't care about decentralization until it matters, right? And so far it hasn't really mattered, and we see this with decentralized AI and versus centralized AI, right? People like state of the art is all in centralized AI, so why should we care about decentralized AI? Things like that. So I do like to go into the nitty gritty. So for me, I would say it's really that it took years for me to fully grasp Akasha's massive scope, right? Decentralized, permissionless, open compute really sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, doesn't it? But really, the key is that it's going to be there for us for a more like a resilient future, right? And it takes time to understand it. A good example for me is, and what really turned me really into more passionate about it was seeing the problems that it solves, right? So let's just go tackle your question. What is Akash Network? It's really a way to organize a bunch of disparate compute resources, right? So what does that mean? It means if you have every time there's a new AI lab that opens up that decides to buy like a rack of GPUs, that's extra compute for Akash. That's kind of like the way I see it, because nobody who runs a full like a full rack can really do 100% utilization. Like I just got off a call with somebody who's running their data centers at 30-40%, which is more normal. So what do you do with the 60-70% that you have lying around that that customers aren't there yet to use, right? And so this is really the problem that Akash solves. Right? It lets anybody put on their excess compute and then lets anybody buy it, right? A lot of people can only see it from the demand side. Like I'm a customer and I purchase some GPUs. But they're really missing the other part of it, which is from the provider sense, right? Because who are going to be these decentralized providers? And in that sense, it's just a decentralized network that separates the control from the people who have the compute. Like let's say I have a phone, I have to compute. It takes the control away from me, the owner, and literally gives it out to people I don't know, right? And so in essence, I think that that's the most important way that I can describe what Akash Network is that it's the marketplace that enables this transfer from people who have compute to people who need it, and thereby cutting out the middleman, right? Which in this case would be, let's say, AWS, right? And why that's really important is that we want to be in control of our own, like compute is everywhere. Sorry, the cloud is everywhere. Everything needs compute at this point as we move towards the digital age. It gets even worse once we're in the AI age, right?
Right.
And so that you don't really want certain people to have all the access and then they can control what does what, like maybe this website doesn't belong there or talking about a lot of things like these days, Grok right now is hitting the headlines because they recently like tweaked the algorithm a little bit, and now it talks a little bit different. It's it spits out facts a little bit different now, and people are all up in arms about it, right? So it's like these type of things that maintaining this decentralized open cloud is effectively helps to guard against. And as our world becomes more increasingly digital, I think that this is going to be a major point for it, basically.
So do I. We actually we have some spare server compute that we contribute to the Akash network and earn some AKT tokens. So from the provider side, I get it, but yeah, I look at it from the user side as well. Like if I'm a dev and I want to train an AI, am I going to overpay at AWS or at Google Cloud, or am I going to do it for far less money and a decentralized manner using Akash? And so that's go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that for some of the people, they're looking at like 700% savings. So it's not like a
It's nuts.
small, yeah, it's not a small difference. And really, a 700% savings isn't. You're not supposed to look at it and be like, oh my god, Akash is so great, right? You're supposed to look at it like, oh my god, AWS is taking that much out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like they have billions and billions and billions in profits, and there's just like this invisible tax man that's like Uncle Bezos, it's just sucking up everybody's. Oh, hi Netflix, give me a little piece. Hi Dropbox, give me a little piece. Things like that. And so really, to bring it back down to, and then who wins, right? Only certain data centers win. All the money pools, and so yeah, really. Really passionate about just having this split out, and like I said back in the beginning, just sharing the ownership. It's like the means of production is being built right now. And so, people should really get into it more and get deeper into it, because there's so many like different chains out there that are doing the same things, but they're not really doing the same things. Like if you dive into like the nitty gritty about the differences between each of them, like the actual technical differences, then you see that they're not doing the same thing at all.
Is
They
the
say that
only
they're doing similar
the only
things.
one I can think of is maybe Render on Solana that's
Uh,
similar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with them, of course. Render is a giant, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time, and they are like, I have nothing but good things to say about them. They are specialists, and they are really good at rendering things and processing that, right? And yes, their GPUs can likely be reused, like kind of towards AI in some way, inference or maybe hosting some instances, right? But they don't really allow for all types of GPUs to kind of just get on there, right? Like that's exactly it. Like it's closed source. You can't really see what's going on behind a curtain. And at the end of the day, if I wanted to just bring my GPU to them, I have to make sure I have the right one and set that up. Whereas with Akash, I could just bring whatever I want and set that up, as long as it's Linux based, of course. There's some limitations, right? But the idea is that there's no limitations on like we're not going to kick you off or anything like that. And I think that that's important, because When we get to the time where, right now there's a lot of talk about like decentralized AI, about ownership. Like I'm gonna contribute my PS5, which back in the day PS2s were used for like like protein fixing, like health stuff. And I can look this up if necessary, if you don't believe me. But we were using PS2s networked together to do scientific research. And so today the PS5s are like way more powerful than the PS2s ever were. So we're all sitting in like little mini supercomputers, that are not being played right now, probably collecting dust, only have time to play a few times a year. And I think that is like a good example of how, everybody has the power within our house, my old laptop, my old computers or whatnot. If we can contribute that to training an AI, like under, let's say, I'll throw some names out, but if you guys don't follow all the DAI names, it won't matter, right? But the idea is that, you contribute your compute to train this AI, and in return, you get a portion of the ownership of that AI model, right? And now in the future, if somebody is maybe using that AI model for some reason, like I gave an example in one of my videos where it's like, if you're a construction specialist and you contribute all the data, you should be paid for that data, right? But then if you provide like compute to train that model with the data from someone else, even if you're not a construction specialist, you can still have ownership in this construction AI model and hopefully be paid anytime somebody asks it a question or whatever, and it gives that expertise, right? And so, yeah, sorry, I just keep rambling. I already
No,
forgot
I
what
mean,
the
you certainly know
question
your
was.
stuff, and you're passionate. So tell us about your X and your YouTube and your social channels, what they're about.
What they're about. Okay. That one is, yeah, that's interesting. So, what is my X channel? I think the primary focus of Akash Alpha is really to provide to the general public, like, not just general public, degens, investment funds, everybody, right? There's whole bunch of followers that follow me that are pretty legit. So I'm really grateful for them. But I really want to just share the developments of Akash and my opinions on it, right? On those developments. So Akash runs their socials really, really professionally, like IBM, right? It's really, it's a little bit restrictive, right? So I'm really excited about the connections that are forming, that they don't really talk about as much. And so I try to bring that to like the surface, if that makes sense. So you never really see them hype up anything or do anything like that. It's not like I'm a big on hype. I'm not a hype guy. I prefer fundamentals more. But the idea is that you can really draw parallels. Like you can, like, if you pay attention, you can see things like Greg is talking about the energy crisis long before now. Like today, everybody's talking about the energy crisis. But I remember last year, Greg was talking about the energy crisis, about how we all need Akash at home. And to literally watch that translate from Akash at home to what they're doing right now with star clusters is, and that's just a variant of Akash at home, right? Like Akash at home is managed by yourself because it's Akash at home, and star clusters is the same thing. It's owning the GPUs, but now you're letting Akash take care of it via the star cluster, right?
Yeah,
And
so I guess I tell me if you think this is a good analogy. I think
sure.
of a DEX that owns its own liquidity as protocol owned liquidity, and so as fickle liquidity providers jump in and out looking for yield, they have liquidity so they can stay in business. And I think of Star Cluster with Akash as the same, where they own some of the compute. So if people stop contributing their excess compute to the network, they can they can fill in that gap with the compute that they own. Is that correct? Like protocol owned compute?
Yes, in essence, but then it does way more for Akash on a technical side, right? So, like, yes, what you're saying is correct in terms of like the overall big picture. That's going to solve that problem that you spoke of, right? That we don't have mercenary providers that are only here when there's like incentives that are paying out, right? And so that, but really on the technical side, really, I think what they did there was quite like elegant. I don't want to like throw too much praise on it, right? Because there are a lot of questions that are still need to be answered, and I hope to find those answers for everybody in the coming months, right? But the idea here is that we have a problem. We have a community problem, not community as in like you or me, community as in like community compute. So who like, if everybody, like, I have a 4090 in the basement, you know what I mean, and I want to put that up on Akash, and then you have a 4090, and you have, so a couple of problems. One is that nobody has the H100. Apparently we don't buy $50,000 GPUs and put it in the basement for some reason. So that's number one, right? So now we need high-end chips, but then who are we going to ask for those high-end chips, right? So ultimately, that comes to like big data centers, by the way. That's the answer. And on the other end, right, the 4090s, I only have one 4090. I don't have like 8. Some people have like 50 because they bought them for the purpose of doing this work. But for the idea of like decentralized ownership, it sounds good on paper, but doesn't really quite work when you actually go down into the nitty gritty, right? Like, give me your one GPU, give me your one GPU, right? It's kind of a hard sell. And so by pooling all these together in the way that they have, they're allowing decentralized ownership, right? Like I have a Star bond, so I don't technically own that GPU, but I do own that, like a portion of that GPU, fractionalized that ownership. So it's still decentralized ownership, right? Because it's the shares are spread amongst whoever wants to buy a Star bond. But at the same time, they're going to be managed in a way, like you said, in a dependable way where they're not going to be as mercenary, right? Because that is already set in there. So hopefully I can gave a little color behind that. But yeah, you're absolutely right about what you said. It's a little bit similar to that you don't want mercenary capital to just leave. Same thing here. You kind of want your GPUs to stay after the incentivization is over, right? So I think that brings about a really unique token incentive conversation that I really think needs to be dived in deeper, right? Because like when you compare to like what Akash is doing is separating from the traditional. Traditionally, your network emits inflation, like emits coins, and then you use that as incentive to pay all the providers, right? But this obviously causes the problem, exactly what you're saying about mercenary, providers, and so all it does is just robs the treasury, right, over time, right? And so I'm happy to see Akash kind of step away from that, and instead of grabbing into like the community pool, we're gonna go grab outside investment to basically place their own bet that they're going to be the new providers, right? And so now they're in bed with Akash, and we'll have a bigger community because of it, like investor community. So I'm very excited about, what's to come, and going to be keeping track of how that develops.
So what is Akash Club? Because I've seen that on X, and I don't know too much about it, but we keep talking about community. So can you
Yeah.
tell me more about that?
Yeah, Akash Club is like a side project of mine. It's just a baby, like I'm still in this is before Spice Agents came onto the scene. I'm assisting with Spice Agents, and I don't know where, like I'm trying to figure out where Akash Club is going to fit in. For me, Akash Alpha is very, I don't want to say professional because I'm not a professional anything, like in that way. But I want to say in the sense that, I try to have like informative DYOR style like content on Akash Alpha. It doesn't really leave a lot of like, I think it's gonna 10x, because that's not really the crowd I'm looking for with that account, right? I really want that to be more like, you want your research and you want to fundamentally understand Akash, then you should look at Akash Alpha. Akash Club is like my the exuberant side of me, the side that's like excited for the things that are happening, and maybe it's a little bit more a little bit more hype based, a little bit more speculative, if you will, because I have all this information, but I don't want to lead people on to the wrong way, right? Just because, just as somebody says it's going to be a great investment doesn't really make it a great investment. Like the price of AKT is not, at all time high right now. So let's be honest, so for me, you hear about all these like creators that are making content, and they, people want to listen to them. For me, I just want to keep some things like very factual, and I want to be very clear when I'm just being like everyone else, right? Like I have a right to be excited and exuberated and speculative too, but I don't want to do that for my main account. And then the other side is that I want to also build I want to find people like me, people who are excited about AI, about decentralized AI, about the developments that are happening, looking for other people that want to look at this information together, because DYOR with friends is much more entertaining than just doing it by yourself. And sometimes it's like when I'm so excited, like, oh my God, Star Clusters, this is so great, like when I turn around and tell my wife, not as excited. So just trying to find my kind. And so that's really what Akash Club really is. And so for me,
I'll
I
geek
think
out together since our wives won't listen.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
for me, I think, go for it.
what have been some of the most rewarding parts of building your online presence? Whether it's your X account or your YouTube channel or the Akash Club.
Oh, that one's easy. I think for me, the most rewarding part has to be, getting in with the most hardcore amongst the community, amongst the
The
Akash, right?
connections. Yeah.
Yeah, because the community that's interested in AKT is very large, but the community that's actually contributing to AKT sorry, to Akash is not as large, right? And so having the people that I would respect, for their contributions, respect me back for
Nice.
mine, has been very rewarding. I went to the Akash Accelerate, excuse me, in New York in New York City this year, and it was great to see people that I would know online, but they actually know who I am.
Wait, is
And
that the one that was just a few weeks ago?
yeah, I was there. So
Nice.
yeah, this is a good example. If you look at Akash Club, you'll see I was like live streaming some of my segments there. I was like doing a lot of things, but then you look at my official, like a more main account, then there's nothing there really. So that's a good example of that actually.
So
So
then
yeah, those good times.
growing your social media presence, is there anything that you would recommend, some of the learning experiences, the do's and the don'ts that you might share with someone else who loves crypto, who's trying to build, their X profile or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think I'm the best person. I'm just about to push 2,000 supporters after a full year of grinding this account out. So I'm definitely not the person to ask. Um, but the one thing I will say is that, my post counts on average punch harder than what my follower count should do. So I will say that that is a valid reason that, how do I say this? It's a valid vote for having very concise content with a valid audience goes a long
Nice.
way. So like I'm nowhere near being like monetized by X or anything or getting millions of impressions, right? But I'm making huge strides in becoming like a real like key opinion leader on Akash, and that does not include a lot of followers. It just includes like deep knowledge, and I feel like the people who follow me are there for that knowledge, and they're there to learn more because they want to know more. And so again, it's just all about gathering your kind and gathering your niche. So
Yeah.
that's the only advice I have, but does
What did
not
I
give
say?
you.
Your vibe attracts your tribe. So then,
Yeah.
since you just went to the Akash thing in New York, what are some of the lesser known projects or teams that you became aware of, or what are some of your favorite projects on Akash that you would want to share?
So I'll answer both questions. The first question is that what are the projects I've seen at the event? None. The reason is because a lot of the people that were at the event mostly don't know about Akash at all. Like they were
Oh,
there for the first time, and yeah, it
gotcha.
surprised me too. I expected to find a lot of holders and whatnot, and it was a cool gathering for community, but it wasn't anything like that. It was very like everybody there were like they didn't know what Akash was about. They were learning for the first time, and they were
So these were
amazed.
developers.
Not some were. I met some AI developers that didn't know about Akash, but a lot of it were also regular people, right? People who were interested in getting involved. I met a student who interned at NVIDIA and is about to make his own like GPU ideas.
Nice.
And so this is kind of like interesting people like that. I don't think not 100% is going to be relevant, but it definitely to me seemed like an event that introduced a lot of people to like what how decentralized AI was about in the first place, right? And then of course I got to meet some people that were like heading out to permissionless because Akash Accelerate is a side event really, like to permissionless, right? So get all the people that are going to be there. So you've got that crowd as well. So I was able to like hang out with like the sales of like Exhibits, which is like a huge GPU provider that actually is a neocloud that provides for Akash. So yeah, it's just meeting all these people, that's outside. It's a little different than on X. So that was fun. I'm sorry, what was
Where
the
do you
second
see?
part of the question? It was
I guess the
like,
second part was, what are some of your favorite
oh,
projects?
projects. Yes, I can tell you some of my favorite projects. And anyone who follows Akash will already know these. Like Passage is one of my favorite ones. The ability to be able to invite anyone to a Unreal Engine 5 world and kind of just interact in there. I would love to use that in some of my content if possible, like to host things there. But yeah, that's really interesting. It uses Akash GPUs. For every two people that are in the Passage world, it's one 4090 on Akash. So that's like kind of how you do the math. And so that's exactly why I'm so excited about all of these projects that I will mention more. But they scale. Like Passage here is just in beta right now, and so as they come out of beta, as they do more events, and then they get more known, they're gonna get hopefully more popular. And as they get more popular, more GPUs are going to be rented out for their cause, right?
And is
And
Passage
so
metaverse or gaming? I forget.
It is a little bit of both because you can build a game around it, and that's what they're doing with their Strange Clan NFT. So that's a game, and then they themselves, the actual builders, are doing events. So they're trying to solve a problem. I have some content coming down the line later, but in
Nice.
essence, their live events cost a lot of money per head, and Passage
Sure.
allows you to give that live event experience without paying the same amount per head for physical. And yeah, definitely just ask people who are about the costs of like Akash Accelerate. It wasn't cheap, and so they definitely got something going on there.
Nice.
Any other projects? Venice AI is one of Akash's largest clients, I guess you can say. Like their entire yeah. And if you don't know what Venice is, it's like ChatGPT, but like decentralized AI using open source models. And they're trying to build a product around that. And the big deal is that unlike all the other chatbots, this one doesn't keep your data. It doesn't want to spy on you. And the mantra is, if we don't have the data, then it can't be kept and it can't be, used against you, right? And so really like what they're doing. And that one is spearheaded by Eric Voorhees, a very prominent member of the crypto industry.
Yes, he
And
is.
yeah, and they account for a big amount of the compute that is used on Akash. So definitely big shout outs to them. Let's see. Sorry about my dog. If I think about other projects I like some of the BitTensor projects that run on Akash are really cool. I'm trying to give because I can give a ton of like AI ones, but I don't want to. I want to give people like something that they can like understand more, right?
So I didn't even know that BitTensor projects use Akash compute. Interesting.
Yeah, Akash supplies compute to quite a few BitTensor projects actually. So I would say that I wouldn't call us the main. I wouldn't say Akash is like the main provider, because they have their own. But it's definitely very different because again, Akash is not an AI project. Okay, BitTensor is an AI project. Akash is not an
Right.
AI project. We are a super cloud project, right? Open source super cloud, and so it's very different. The things that are available on Akash, on demand versus what's available and how it's available on BitTensor, right?
Well, I think
Or
on BitTensor, it's more like the Internet of AI, right? Where developers are training everything and making all of that data available. And then I
Mhm.
guess the engine underneath would be Akash. Is that a good analogy?
Uh, yeah, but some of the subnets have their own compute. Like there's a subnet called Shoots. It's one of the largest subnets that they have, and they provide compute as well. So the only difference is like what type of compute and how, right? Akash gives sovereign compute, whereas Shoots does not. It's not the same. Does that make sense? So it's like it's about like once you get into the technical details about it, then some are suited for better this way, and some are suited better that way. So it just really depends. But Akash is built to scale, and so the idea here is, that's why I love, examples like Passage, because again, as Passage gets more popular, they can just easily scale via code, not like, hey, Greg, I need more GPUs, nothing like that. They're literally going straight into the code and just renting out more as they go. And that's something that's very unique to Akash. And,
So then, so with the, I guess the infinite scaling, where do you see the intersection of AI and blockchain going? How does it evolve? What does it look like in 5 years?
I mean, I don't want to repeat like talking points here, but the future is going to be in decentralized AI. In there's a lot of roadblocks that need to be solved. That projects like Muse Research are trying to solve right now. Prime Intellect, Jensen AI, they're all trying to solve these problems of how do I get GPUs around the world to act just as good as a million GPUs under one roof, right? Because there's so many problems with everything under one roof. Everything under one roof means we need a billionaire to support that, right? Because no one else can afford everything under one
Right.
roof, right? Everything under one roof means we need to trust a single entity with all of our data, and pray that they're not going to use it against us, right? And that's all on one roof, right? And so and then the last thing is energy, right? Which is the most important one, right? Because right now, I'm not gonna lie, the state of the art are all centralized entities, right? Like, if you look outside open source, you're not gonna find a state of the art model. and nobody's going to use a second-rate model. Like what's Google's provider, like Bing? Like how many people use that, right? Like comparatively, and so open source AI or decentralized AI, however you want to call it, it has to be better than we have to be better than the state of the art that
And the
is
shame
done.
is also, the centralized providers are the ones that rub elbows with government to get regulation, which looks like they're doing everyone a favor, but they're trying to close the doors to competitors.
Right.
And so,
Right, and so that's why it's important that and this is why it's funny because a lot of people like to be like, especially in crypto, there are a lot of passive investors. I consider myself an active investor because
yeah, I mean, crypto rewards those who are active.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, but the idea is that we all need to get involved at this point, right? Like we all need like there was a presentation done by News Research at Akash Accelerate, and at the end the slide was like, we need you. And we need you in a way that's only possible in the decentralized, because there's no decentralization without everybody, and everybody includes you and me, right? It doesn't just include like two people. That's not decentralization. And so this is a more active way of participating that's required. And I don't know if the general public is ready for that yet. You know what I mean? Like if you're not like really tuned in and really bought into this whole ecosystem, it's hard to imagine people, like people don't talk about like their stocks the way that they talk about some of the crypto projects, you know what I mean? And
That's
so
fact.
it's a kind of like a different level, I feel, but yeah, but I think that's the future. The future is that it's going to go away from decentralized, because decentralized AIs, oh, what happened here? I just, did I lose power? Hello? Okay, I'm still
No,
here,
I
right?
think just cut out for one quick second. Yeah, we're good. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
cool. Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know what happened. My computer just blanked out. But okay, we're back. All right. What was I saying? I was saying that decentralized AI is going to take over because there's just not enough energy. Like you just look up. There was an article that came out yesterday. Look up Elon Musk and XAI's data center in Memphis. Right, they are literally importing a power plant from abroad, physically importing a power plant to power their needs, because there's no way American energy is going to keep up and going to be able to support the millions of GPUs that they want in that to run XAI, right, to run Grok. And so in this case, they're using, if they were to use all of Memphis's power, like the entire city, like every wing around, it would not be enough to power all the GPUs that they want to power. So this is how much energy is needed. And at a certain point, it's ridiculous, almost like comic book villain ridiculous amount of energy. Like I need to take half the U.S. starboard, in order to power my data center. It sounds very, very evil genius, right? And so there's got to be a different way. And part of what I learned in Akash Accelerate is that we can decentralize the energy needs, right? Because if everybody runs like 8 GPUs or 32 GPUs at their house, right? This is Akash at home. If everyone around us has solar panels that absorb energy, batteries that keep it, and then we have a rack of 32 GPUs at home, we can solve this problem really quick. Because
so I think so. I'm in Phoenix, and I think no doubt if we could decentralize the power grid and everybody had panels and it was cost effective, which it's just not, by the way, and the local power companies do everything in their power to make it difficult to get solar so they can keep their stranglehold monopoly on everybody. But yeah, if we can decentralize the power grid, and then you have AI shuffling energy around from one place to the next. And then also here in Phoenix, QTS, I think is the name of the data centers that are going up everywhere. And these are enormous, enormous buildings. And I think about, how much power these things consume and how much water they consume. And we're in the desert. And then I wonder, the people who are bringing in those who are renting the racks at the data center, are they saying, hey, if you have spare compute, maybe you don't know about Akash Network, and so I don't even know how that goes, but I hope that the people who are running the data centers are introducing these decentralized solutions, to the people who have spare compute in the data center.
They are, because if you are holding on to, especially GPUs, they're very expensive. So any times that you're not running it, and they depreciate fast. So if you bought like an H200, you really want like as much utilization. So many people are looking at decentralized systems. But like I said earlier, this is exactly how Akash Network competes, because our onboarding for providers are a lot better than competitors. Like other competitors, they need you to stake their crypto. For each GPU that you want to put on the network, you got to stake X amount of crypto. And so you actually have to buy into their system, stake their coin, and then you can provide, right? And so that creates like all these roadblocks. And then there's Akash. It's like, all right, come whenever you want, leave whenever you want. It creates a different vibe, and and I think that market forces will play out and win out. The
So
winner
I
will be
think that's
chosen.
a good segue. Do you stake your AKT tokens?
Oh, absolutely. I think that so it's funny because I talked to a lot of holders in my time here just hanging out, and I find a lot of people they don't stake because they want the option to like sell fast, as if they're
Sure.
gonna sell like tomorrow. But the ironic thing is that most of them don't sell, so like they hold it, but they don't stake it, but they also don't sell it. And I say, in my tokenomics paper, I basically called out that people who hold the token but they don't stake it, you are classified as a speculator, right? Because you're trying to get in and out or anytime, you want your option to get out.
Well, you're getting
But then
diluted.
you lose out on the inflation rewards, right? Because
Right.
whether the way if you do your research and understand how Akash Network, the blockchain works, it will emit inflation no matter what. Like when you buy into it, like you should know that, and maybe you don't because a lot of people don't do the full reading. But the idea is that that's what's happening. And so if you're holding but you're not staking, you're literally leaving money on the table, right? As your AKT devalues a little bit from the inflation that comes in, right? And so I do advise everybody. I have a staking guide myself.
Yes.
So I do advise anyone who's not speculating, like if you're not planning to sell within the next 30 days, then I would not keep AKT that's not staked, right? So that's or if you're gonna set up like all of your AKT into like a stop loss or something like that, then I get it, But if you're not doing that and you just have it around in your wallet, then I think that you're kind of missing out.
So I subscribe to a crypto newsletter called Crypto Capital by Stansberry Research. So free plug for them and Eric Wade. And Eric Wade is like the main editor, and he has shown me, and this is a good strategy, where when you triple your money, you sell a third. So you get your principal off of the table. And so what I have learned to do over time is I stake 2/3 of my tokens and I keep 1/3 liquid. And then that way, if there's some sort of parabolic, skyrocket higher, you've got a third liquid that you can sell and at least get your principal off the table. And that way you don't have to stress out about that long unbonding period that a lot of Cosmos ecosystem projects have.
Hmm.
But do you use Restake to auto compound any of your rewards?
I do not. It's it's kind of funny because for all of like crypto is really interesting is that there's so many things to do,
Yeah, I
and
know.
that's just one of the things that I haven't explored yet. But yeah, like it's kind of like it'll be on my list. I do have some questions like how do I deal with the tax liabilities and things like that because at least where I
Yeah,
live,
I mean,
already.
so if
Yeah.
it's so I use Coinly for my tax reporting, and Akash is one of the chains that is automatically integrated. And so yeah, so if your validator is set up to where every day or even geez every hour it's claiming and restaking, each one of those is a taxable transaction that
Mhm.
adjusts your cost basis, and then you pay income tax on the rewards that you're claiming. And so it does get sloppy, but there's lots of places on the planet where they don't have to keep track of this stuff. My
Yeah.
business partner is in Amsterdam, and there's no taxes on any of this, and so I'm super
Hmm.
jealous that he doesn't have to keep track of anything on paper, and
Hmm.
none of it is a big deal. What about liquid staking? Have you used any liquid staking protocols for Akash?
Liquid staking is not a module that's turned on in Akash, so
Well,
no,
no. What
there's
I mean is, do you own like does Stride have like an STAKT token?
I don't think so. No,
Oh, gotcha.
no, because it's not
Okay.
like I said, it's not the feature for that to work is not turned on on Akash like the network, right? So it's interesting, right? Because that shows the power of Cosmos at this point, right? Because then each chain is sovereign, and so they have chosen not to turn it on for other security reasons,
Yeah,
So
no, I get that. So what's your favorite Cosmos wallet? What are you working in most of the time?
I am mostly using Kepler because that's
Same.
kind of
Yeah.
like more of the, it's kind of like what got you in is what kept you there. Like
Yeah.
I do use like Leap to
Same.
manage my Jackal. because for some reason my Kepler does not work with Jackal. I don't know why. So I have to use Leap for that. I do like the way Leap works. It's just I'm just old fashioned. I don't know what to call it.
So I use a
Like
ledger for
Excel.
everything, and so I could use Leap one day, Cosmos Station the next, Kepler the next, and so I love using a ledger. And if I pop over to someone else's computer, you can just plug in whatever. It's super easy. Um, what else? Let's see. So okay, so since you stake your AKT, when choosing where to stake your tokens, what do you look for in a validator?
Oh, that's a great question. So for me personally, and I try to and let me know. Like I heard that you might be trying to get into active set, but the idea is that like I really prefer contributor validators. So I write pieces on them if possible. I give them credit wherever possible. So I'll give
You
you
want them to be
an
visible.
example. Sorry.
You want them to be visible.
Yeah, well, visible, true, but help in whatever way that they can. Like today, no, sorry, not today, but every day I hang out on the Telegram, and there's Cam from Bliss Dynamics. He's one of the validators, and he's over there always, maintaining the Telegram and making sure everybody's questions are answered. So like that's a non-technical role, like he just takes on. And so it's good to see that, he's there. And then, of course, as he's introducing people, they're going to ask, hey, where do you stake? And then he'll, oh, yeah, you can stake anywhere you want, but hey, like my name literally says block, validator,
Sure.
So it's kind of good advertisement, in my opinion. And also he's contributing. Other contributors like my technical partner. So I contribute via the Akash navigators. So what that means is that I help onboard companies that are looking to, like AI companies or whatever companies are looking to either provide their GPUs onto Akash, as I said about people trying to sell their unutilized compute, or companies that are looking to onboard and looking to use Akash, right? So I'm part of the teams that try to, because Akash Network doesn't have a customer service team, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I guess we're the closest to it. So anyway, so my technical partner Julius has actually done a lot of work in terms of like Akash Chat. If you ever used Akash Chat, which is like Akash's like free version of a chatbot, just open source chat models that you can talk to.
Yeah.
And there's also an API with that, so that if you want to build like a basic app and you don't, and Akash will pay for this compute. We have a few servers that are running just for this system, right? And then you can just sign up permissionlessly for an API and kind of get you going, in terms of the dev work. And all of that is done by Julius, and he serves as a technical navigator. And so basically I promote his node a lot. He's a no dump node. And so, like it says, he claims that he doesn't dump, so good for him. But I don't care if you do dump, because you got to pay for stuff, okay? People got to pay, got to eat. So
doesn't that make us the cartel? That's what everybody
says.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm so tired of that. It's only because people only think that way because they don't understand what they're purchasing into. If you kind of just like literally read the white papers, or like literally read like how everything works. Like I get that people might disagree. Like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna end up like this. Totally get it. But that's
most validators lose money. I think we're just above breaking even in this bear market. It's been brutal. And and we don't sell our tokens. We restake everything. But
well, I think that's great, but I think it starts with getting into a culture of not demonizing people. Like it's more like you should understand how it works in real life rather than demonize people who need to sell in order to make ends meet, because that's like why they're working. Because without our validators, the Akash network would not work. And so, like, what do you mean you don't want to pay them? So, So that's my point there. But I know it's very contentious these days. I try to stay out of it.
So if I wanted to use the Akash chatbot, can I just incorporate that on my website using an API and then let it run, or is there a different use that I'm not understanding?
I mean, ideally it's for people who want to just try out, like ultimately it's a funnel, so what we really want is we want for you to try it out, build your app, find success, and be like, yeah, this thing's too slow, whatever, right? And then you end up getting your own. Like that's the idea, right?
Gotcha.
There are other services that charge for the API, because then they'll just add more servers, but Akash only has like X amount, on there. And so that would be the difference. And to what you were saying is it depends on how you use the API, right? There are different ways to connect to it. It could be through an app. It could be through a website, so you can reuse the chat. I suppose that's possible too. But it really is just about your usage and how much you're allowed to use. Free is free, but free has limits. So.
Totally. So are there additional features or services that some validators offer that others don't that you think are important? Or how would you like to see us as validators expand our services and grow? And, what else can we offer to make choosing a validator simpler? Because, oh, wow, this guy offers this and this guy doesn't.
I don't think that there's any, there's no specific hard, fast rule, right? Because I'm not going to fault somebody who, like, I don't have any technical abilities. Literally, I cannot, I'm not technical at all. Like, I'm trying to understand it from a regular person's point of view, but I don't know how to code. I don't know how to, do any of these things,
Same.
And so, like, for people like that, like, I can't really expect you to be building out, like, the AI infrastructure that Akash can use as a top funnel, right? Like, that's kind of something only Julius could do because he has that specialty. You know what I mean?
So let me back up real quick since you mentioned his name. So I just looked on the validator list for AKT and I didn't see no dump. So I want to make sure that I got it right. Is he not currently validating
I have
Akash?
no idea. Like,
Gotcha,
I have
gotcha,
no
gotcha.
idea.
Well, free
I
plug
don't
for the
know.
no dump validator. So if you guys are looking around on various chains, at least look for no dump because we know
It's
that
not. I
he's
think he's only on Akash as far as I know. So, but
gotcha.
anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is that not everybody can contribute the same way. I like to talk about Max. Before Max is currently, Max.
Max power.
Max, yeah, Max is obviously now known as founder of the Spice Agents, but before that
Oh,
he,
gotcha,
um,
gotcha.
yeah, he also he works for the core team. You know that too.
I do.
And before he worked for the core team, he built out CloudMos, and CloudMos is now Akash Console. So the Akash Console that you see today is like literally the early work of Max, right? And
Very
so he
cool.
was a contributor long before he joined the core team, and he was also a validator. So I also send my validations to CloudMos, which is a similar thing to continue to support him, right? And so that's what I mean by contributor validators. But I think that I think I like to, I would love to maintain a list, but it's just I haven't gotten very active validators. Part of Akash Club was really to try to get the validators in because we can all pitch in there. You know what I mean? So the things that like I can't pitch in with building more stuff, but I can pitch in with more education, more community, more
Sure.
like those type of softer skills that everybody has just needs people to be online for. So I don't have any way to give you that because everybody has their own reason for delegating here or delegating there, right? But in my opinion, what would make a contributor validator and somebody that I would as Akash Alpha share and talk about would be just being a part of the of the community really and being active there because there's a lot of validators that I don't know, right? So
No, totally. Yeah,
yeah.
we're working on a delegator dashboard right now that is looking pretty slick, and so hopefully within 3 weeks or so that should be live. But yeah, I will join the Akash Club for sure, and I would love to be able to contribute and just whatever help.
Well, actually,
We
Akash Club is going to be on the Spice Agents Discord because the Spice Agent Discord is actually this old Akash Club Discord. And so the idea here is very simple. On the Spice Agent Discord, uh, obviously, if you own a Spice Agent, you're going to have access to the internal chat. But the public chat is actually called Clubhouse because that is the Akash Club Clubhouse. And my intent is to invite everybody on there. So if you're
nice.
looking to be a validator, please come join the Discord. And my hope is to gather more than just Spice agents in that Discord, right? Like I want to keep it more open and be able to invite people from other collections as well, other AKT NFT collections, other AKT projects that want to reach. I really just want to build a mess hall, like a co-playground gathering space for AKT interested individuals. And I personally believe that's going to be an asset for the Spice Agents NFT because more people that are going to be on their server is really going to help them talk about their own NFT and how that represents Akash, right?
Kind of like we said before, if you're married and your wife isn't interested in hearing it, you can come geek out in the Discord
Yeah,
with us.
that's the point. And
Yeah, so
so
I love the collaboration, between validators and NFT creators and community members like yourself to help grow the ecosystem. Cosmos and Akash specifically, I think it's awesome.
yeah, I
Well,
mean it
so
depends on us.
Yeah. So where can people find you online? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you and to follow you and learn more about your work?
Just exactly as your thing says. It's really at Akash Alpha underscore on X, and I try to keep the same username, so you can find me on OmniFlix, right? Because support Web3 media. But you can also find me on YouTube. Sorry, OmniFlix guys. Like I would love to only do OmniFlix, but
No, I get it.
YouTube, same username. So those are the places you can find me. But really, just to give you the lowdown, it's like for X, you're gonna find nice articles on Akash. Exactly, like I'm working on one right now. I'm going to release it later today. It's just going to be keep up to date on Akash, more in depth. And then for the videos on YouTube and OmniFlix, it's just like essays that I write, about Akash, because I think a lot of people don't understand it on a technical level. So just trying to make it more simpler, explain it to you like you're five. So yeah.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting close to the time. So how about we wrap up with some speed questions, which I think are always fun.
Sure.
All
What
right.
you
So
got?
here we go. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you two. You choose one. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
How about coffee or tea? And since you have a shop,
It's
this is a
going to
good
be
one.
tea. It's actually going to be coffee because I drink a lot of tea. So at home I drink coffee. At work I drink tea. Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs definitely for sure.
Call or text?
Text. Yeah.
Netflix or YouTube?
Oh, obviously subscribe to both, but YouTube.
I spend way more time on YouTube. Yeah. Pizza or burger?
Burger.
Physical book or ebook?
Physical book.
Same. Action or
ADD.
comedy? Yeah, I like to underline.
This one's going to be interesting. Both, but I guess if I had to choose one, I would probably choose action.
Okay. Rock and roll or hip hop?
Rock and roll.
Morning person or night owl?
A morning person.
Same. Sitting on the beach or camping in the mountains?
Beach for sure.
Big party or small get together?
Small get together.
And then finally, how about either a road trip with friends or a romantic getaway with a significant other? And if your wife is listening, I hope you say the right thing here.
Probably road trip with friends, honestly. Yeah.
I get to do both this weekend. I turned 50 on Sunday, and we're the family's road tripping out to hang out with friends and their families to San Diego. So it should be fun.
Congratulations!
But,
I
yeah,
look forward to being there.
Dude, I'm 50 years old. I'm getting to be a dinosaur here in crypto, and Eric, my partner, is 61, so he's a true grandpa in crypto.
Hey, and yet you still talk about you're here, you're validating. So I would say, grandpa. I don't know if that's the way that you should be using the term.
No, it's seasoned. It's experience, right?
That's exactly it. A grown up.
So I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to end the stream right now, and then hang out with me for a minute or two afterwards. And we appreciate everyone for